Have you ever had that feeling, that frustration when you have to call a developer for what seems like a teeny tiny business change? Well, today we're going to demystify a really powerful technique that can put an end to those data integration headaches. It's all about making your systems way smarter and a whole lot more flexible.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start by diagnosing a super common problem, one I like to call the hard coding headache. Then we'll pull back the curtain on its surprisingly simple solution, see how it actually works in the real world, and finally, we'll unpack why this one little change is a total game changer for staying agile. All right, first up, let's dive right into a pain point that, pretty much anyone in IT integration has felt. It's this problem of having critical business roles buried deep, deep inside your application's code. I mean, just think about it for a second. Let's say a new country gets added to your sales territory, or maybe a new shipping code is created. Does that seriously mean you have to track down a developer, have them change the actual application logic, and then go through the whole process of redeploying the entire service? For way too many of us, the answer is a really frustrating yes. This whole hard coding approach, it really creates three massive pitfalls. First off, it's an absolute maintenance nightmare. Every tiny little change you make creates a risk of breaking something else. Second, you end up with inconsistent mappings all over the place. You'll have different systems translating the exact same idea in totally different ways. And maybe worst of all, the logic is locked away in this black box, completely hidden from the business experts who actually own those rules. So how in the world do we get out of this mess? Well, the solution is, and I love this, it's beautifully simple in concept. It's time to introduce the power of lookups. Lookups, which you'll often hear called domain value maps, or DVMs for short, they basically act as a central translation dictionary. Just imagine having a single shared reference book that all of your applications can use to translate codes instead of each one having its own messy, hard-coded notes scribbled in the margins. Okay, that all sounds great in theory, right? But what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's stop talking and actually see this thing in action. We're going to use a classic integration challenge, mapping currency codes. Your modern ERP system, it uses standard codes, like USD and EUR. But your old legacy mainframe, it uses old school numerical codes like 01 and 02. You've got to translate between the two. And here it is. This is our central dictionary in action. This simple little table, this is the entire solution. Just look at the columns. The ERP systems code, like USD, is mapped directly to the legacy systems code 01. Instead of being buried in some obscure line of code, the translation is right here. It's clean, it's visible, and it's all managed in one place. And making one of these? It's just as straightforward as it looks. First, you define your columns. So in our example, that's ERP code and legacy code. Second, you just fill in the rows with all your data mappings. And finally, you deploy it as this central, reusable thing that any service can tap into. Simple as that. Okay, now here's where the magic really happens. Once that table is deployed, your code becomes incredibly simple. You don't need a bunch of complicated if-then-else logic. Nope, you just use one single powerful function, just like the one you see here. This one line of code does all the heavy lifting for you, calling out to our central dictionary to find the right value and bring it back. Let's just quickly break that function down, because it's really not scary at all. It's just asking 5 simple questions. Where's the dictionary I need? Which column am I searching in? What's the specific value I'm looking for? What's the column I want the value from? And finally, just in case, what should I return if I can't find a match? See? It's a perfectly clean and self-contained request. So we've seen the what, and we've seen the how, but let's bring this all home and talk about the why. Why is this approach so much better? Why does this really matter? I mean, the contrast here could not be more clear. It's night and day. On one side, you've got hard coding, which gives you this brittle logic that's buried deep in the code and needs a full, painful redeployment for any change. And on the other side, lookups give you a flexible, centralized system that's totally visible to business users and, get this, allows you to update mappings on the fly, often without any downtime at all. So the key point, the thing to really take away here is this. Lookups give you 3 massive wins. First, you decouple your business data from your integration logic. They're no longer tangled together. Second, you can make hot updates to that data without ever touching your code. And third, that one currency map we made, it can be reused by your finance apps, your sales apps, your shipping apps, ensuring total consistency across the board. So I'll leave you with this little challenge. Take a moment and think about your own systems. What critical business logic, country codes, status mappings, product categories, is currently buried deep inside your code right now? Because that logic, right there, might be the perfect candidate to be set free with a dynamic lookup.